Welcome to our explainer on Chapter 8. We're about to dig into the professional competencies you absolutely need to master business-to-business marketing. And let me tell you, this is a sector that powers a huge chunk of our entire global economy.
All right, here's our game plan. We're going to move through the 5 key learning objectives for this chapter, one by one. The goal here is to build your strategic B2B playbook from the ground up, so you can walk away with some real, applicable skills.
So let's start with this question. What is the real difference between you buying one software license for your laptop and a massive global firm like SAS Institute, right down the road in Cary, buying thousands? It's way more than just the number, right? We're talking about a whole different universe of scale, complexity, and purpose. Let's dig in.
To really get a handle on the B2B landscape, we've got to map out the territory first. So in this first section, we're going to break down the 4 primary types of business markets you'll encounter.
First up, we have producer markets. Now these guys are all about creating value. A perfect example is Martin Marietta Materials over in Raleigh. They're not buying heavy equipment for fun. They're buying it to quarry stone, which then goes into other products. Or, think about Nucor in Charlotte, they purchase raw materials to forge steel. You see the pattern? The purchase is an input for their own production line. Next, we have the world of resellers. This is where companies like Salisbury's Food Lion or Mooresville-based Lowe's live. They buy huge quantities of finished products, but not for their own use. Nope, it's all about stocking their shelves for you and me. So for them, the key factors are totally different. They're worried about consumer demand, shelf space, and whether their suppliers are reliable.
And then there are government markets. And let me tell you, this is a whole different ballgame. We're talking about contracts on a massive scale, super complex bidding processes, and a ton of public accountability. If you end up in finance at a place like Bank of America or Truist, understanding these intricate purchasing rules isn't just a good idea, it's absolutely critical if you want to win those big government deals.
Finally, we have institutional markets. This bucket includes major employers and economic drivers right here in North Carolina, like Duke University Health System or Novant Health. Their purchasing needs are totally unique because they're driven by their mission, not by profit. And that fundamentally changes how they think about buying and where they put their resources.
Okay, so now that we know who the players are in this B2B world, let's talk about the tools of the trade. The number one tool we use to analyze this field is the North American Industry Classification System, or as you'll always hear it, NAICS.
So what is NAICS really? The most crucial thing to remember is that it's a standardized language. It lets us segment the entire business market so we can precisely identify potential customers. Honestly, it's the foundational data structure for any serious B2B market analysis. You gotta know it.
As a marketing professional, this is how you'd actually use it. You'd use the data to pinpoint every potential customer in a specific sector, estimate how much they might buy, and then build a super targeted list for your sales team. It basically takes this huge, messy market and turns it into a manageable set of high-potential leads.
All right, we've got our analytical framework down. Now let's get into the nitty-gritty. B2B marketing has its own unique rule book, and it's pretty different from consumer marketing. In this section, we're going to break down those rules. This here is your roadmap. This framework lays out everything you need to know about B2B marketing, from the characteristics of the transaction itself all the way to demand dynamics. You should think of this as your strategic checklist for analyzing pretty much any B2B interaction you come across.
Getting these 3 purchase types straight is a core competency, for sure. It dictates your entire sales approach. Are you doing a deep consultation for a complex, new task purchase? Or are you just setting up simple, automated reordering for a straight rebuy? Your marketing strategy has to match the customer's buying situation perfectly.
Understanding demand in B2B is absolutely key. For example, a company like Hanes Brands knows that the demand for their cotton is tied directly to how many t-shirts people are buying. That's what we call derived demand. And because of something called the bullwhip effect, even a tiny dip in t-shirt sales can cause a huge downturn for their cotton suppliers. That's fluctuating demand in action.
We've looked at the big picture, the market level. Now let's zoom all the way in. To really be effective in B2B marketing, you have to understand what's happening inside a single organization. Who are the key players making the decisions, and how do they actually make their choices?
So as a marketer, your real job is to figure out who's in this buying center and address the unique concerns of each member. It's not just about the one person who signs the check.
You know, an influencer might be obsessed with technical specs, while the buyer is all about price, and the actual user just wants it to be easy to use. You have to speak to all of them.
And this 5-stage process, this is the strategic roadmap for almost every major business purchase. From realizing there's a problem, all the way to evaluating how things went after the fact. Now, for a simple straight rebuy, some of these steps might be automated, but for a big new task purchase, every single stage is distinct and incredibly important. And as this shows, the buying process is never a simple, straight line. It's influenced by a whole bunch of factors, from the wider economic climate all the way down to the individual personality of a single buyer. A really sharp marketer knows how to navigate all these complexities and can pivot their strategy on the fly. For instance, if the economy's in a downturn, you can bet that buyer is going to care a lot more about cost savings than cool new features.
You know, we can't possibly talk about modern B2B marketing without talking about technology. This digital shift is completely rewriting the rules of the game, and in our final section, we're going to explore what that means for your career.
The main takeaway here is that the power has shifted. It's now in the hands of the buyer. They are deeply informed, they've done their homework long before they ever pick up the phone to call a sales rep. This makes content marketing absolutely essential. Your company's blog, its white papers, its webinars, that's your new first impression.
And what this has done is make the whole procurement process way more efficient. It's saving tons of time and cutting costs for companies all across the global economy. It's also leveled the playing field a bit, giving smaller suppliers more access and making prices more transparent for buyers.
So, everything we've covered today, this is way more than just academic theory. These are the actual building blocks for a successful career in B2B marketing. It doesn't matter if you end up at a great local nonprofit like 321 Coffee or a global giant like Honeywell. Mastering these principles right here in the Appalachian region will help you create real value and drive growth, no matter where you go.
And I want to leave you with this final thought. As you start applying these principles, think about the future. As AI gets smarter and smarter, which of those roles in the buying center is most likely to be automated? This is a really important question because it forces you to think about where human relationships and strategic insight will always be the most valuable. Where do the routine tasks end, and where does that complex value-added human judgment begin?